Hello and welcome to EV Review Ireland. My name is Derek Riley. Welcome to day 18 of the EV Review Ireland 30-day challenge. If this is your first video, you can look back on the past 17 days by going to the channel and looking at the playlist. While you're there, you're as well to subscribe if this is the kind of content that you're interested in. And also let me know what you think of this video. Leave a comment, like it, share it on social if you think it's good. Today, we're going to be talking about 12 tips to maximize your EV range. These are tips that I've come up with just by reading, reviewing, researching. I'm sure I've missed some. Let me know in the comments if I have, if I haven't, if you found today's video good. So 12 tips, and we're going to start off with number one. And it's an obvious one, but you'd be surprised the amount of people that don't think about it. How would you maximize your EV range before you leave on a trip? Make sure you're starting off with 100%. This isn't always achievable if you haven't got a charger at the place where you live or where you're staying, but if you can at all, leave with 100% battery, either by plugging in overnight and scheduling the charger or using a public charger the night before or going away the day before. And so knowing when you leave that you have the best opportunity to get the maximum range out of it. Also in colder temperature, some EVs will allow you to preheat while it's plugged in, which is using energy from the grid rather than using energy from the battery. So you're nice and toasty warm when you're leaving and you're not using into your battery capacity. It's always a great way of doing it. So making sure that you're leaving at 100%, that's going to give you the optimum or the maximum opportunity to get the maximum range out of your EV before you'd have to stop and top up if you have to do that. So that's number one, 100% battery. Number two, plan your route so you know where you're likely to charge, and don't forget redundancies. So there's lots of different route planners out there. The best one that I feel is the A Better Route Planner, A, B, or P. It has an app also. There's a free version and there is a premium version. But what you can do with that is you can input your car. You can input what battery percentage it has. If it's not at 100%, you can enter your start and end point. You can put in if there's any extra weight in the car, put in all the different variables, and that will let you know how far you're going to get within a couple of percentages. I've heard only positive things about it. Sometimes it is a bit optimistic, but very a big advocate of this app or website if you're using it on desktop. But at least you understand then where you're going to charge. But also don't be reliant on that charger being free or operational. Look to see if you can charge maybe one before that. Or if that one is free, where's the redundancy going to be? Where's the nearest charger besides that? So owning an EV does take a bit of planning, does take a bit more thought rather than just sitting in your car and driving off. And so just remember the reasons that you're doing this. It's for environmental reasons. It's for economical reasons. It is to be at the start and an early adopter of a newer technology. There's lots of different reasons people buy an EV, but planning your route, understanding if you have to charge, where that's going to be, and always make sure that you have that redundancy so you're not getting to somewhere with only 3 or 4% battery left and the charge that you arrive at either has somebody else charging or it is broken and you haven't got enough charge to get to the next charger. So making sure you put that redundancy in place and charging. And we're going to talk about when and where to charge in this. So planning the route and knowing where you're going to charge. But there's lots of route planners out there. The third tip, and we still haven't left yet, we're getting it to 100%, we're making sure we know where we're going and where we're going to charge if we have to charge, is your tires on your electric vehicle. So number three is tires, and what we mean by that is a couple of different things. Understanding what pressure they need to be, because if they're under pressured, or the pressure isn't at the level it needs to be, it's creating more resistance on the road. It has more surface area on the road. So understanding what the pressure should be for the number of people in the car that's traveling on the trip. Also, have you got the right type of tires fitted? This can be a bit of a contentious point. Some people think that there's no difference in it, but there are tires from different manufacturers out there that have a lower rolling resistance. So they are easier to roll along and easier to push along with an electric battery, and they can be utilized for combustion engine, but not just only electric vehicles. So tires, i.e. pressure, and making sure that you're checking the pressures, and the manufacturer will have the optimal pressure on that car and for the number of passengers. Some are easily accessible, but making sure you've got the right type of tires. I'm going to probably do another piece on tires specifically on this channel moving forward. Fourth tip is knowing what weight you need to have in the car versus what weight you don't need to have in the car. And what I mean by this is you're not telling your cousin who is a bit overweight that you can't travel with him because he, she, or they are going to take up too much of your EV battery. What I mean by that is, what are you carrying that you don't need to be carrying? Is there a roof box on it? Are there roof rails that don't need to be attached? Is there stuff in the boot that doesn't need to be there that you're just lugging around all the time? So understanding the extra weight that you're carrying around that you potentially don't need to be carrying around. So handy sometimes to leave stuff in the car, in the boot, roof box left on because you might be traveling or you're going to be traveling in a couple of weeks' time. That is eating into your efficiency. So make sure that you're taking out any unnecessary items in the actual car that's causing extra weight. And this comes back to another point of people buying cars, electric vehicles that have a huge battery in them, but they don't utilize it on a regular basis. So when you're buying an electric vehicle, make sure that you understand what's the majority of the trips that I use, and that's the size of the battery you should be going for. You shouldn't be going for the bigger battery just because it's going to get you cross country a couple of times a year and you don't need to charge. You're lugging that weight around with you all the other times as well. So just remember that weight is a huge factor. That was number 4. Number 5, when we are now finally out on the road, you need to take it easy on the pedals, both pedals, accelerator and braking. So what do I mean by being easy on the pedals? Slow to accelerate and also slow to brake when you can. Obviously the brake is there in an emergency if you need to, but no crazy starts, no crazy stopping when you don't need to. So easy on the accelerator. It's a smoother, and the electric motor and the battery pack and the energy consumption, it's much easier to ramp up and ramp down. And also when you're braking as well, if you need to brake, easier on the brake as well. So you're getting some regenerative braking back in. We're going to talk about regenerative braking in a second, but it is, if you press too hard too fast, you're missing that opportunity or that window to get some regenerative energy back in. So you're putting all this energy out, and if you are a regen, if you're using the regen on the electric vehicle that you have, make sure that you're getting it back in if you want to. So that is easy on the pedals. So number 6 is understanding the route that has potentially the less traffic on it, because that start-stop is great for regen, but when you're just sitting there and you're not moving, it's not good for anybody. So you need to understand what routes are the less traffic or less commuters, less congested is the word I'm looking for. Sometimes it may mean you need to go at a different time of the day. And I'm not looking for you to change your overall lifestyle. But as I mentioned, owning an EV sometimes takes a bit of planning and understanding. Let's miss that traffic. And an app that I recommend, and I know that Noel has after comment on my channel when I was talking about apps in one of the previous 30-day challenges, an app for managing traffic and understanding traffic is an app called Waze, W-A-Z-E. A company that was acquired by Google a couple of years ago. And how Waze works is it utilizes the users within the community to understand whether I'm driving, whether I'm braked, whether I'm in traffic. But also I can report stuff in that app as well. If there was a traffic jam, if there's something parked on the side of the road, but it understands where those traffic and where those congestions are. And I had this last year when we were traveling, that there was a car crash up ahead, and I was able to bypass off the motorway, up along, and then back onto the motorway. And I was able to get past the traffic jam and also not be sitting in there and just using up energy by just sitting there as in heating, etc., and stop and starting. So trying to avoid traffic if at all possible, and using that Waze app is one of the apps that I'd recommend. I'm sure there are other ones out there. Number 7. This is going to be a contentious one, as much as Tyres, etc., whether there's no difference in them, whether you use regenerative braking or you let the car coast or roll. So regen versus coasting, and this is definitely going to have to be another app or another episode on the channel. So regen versus coasting, which is better for the car? Some people reckon that highest regen, etc., etc. Some people reckon putting it into neutral or turning off the regen so it just rolls itself to a stop, and working out which is best for you. Some people use regenerative braking in urban environments, and then when they're on the motorway, they use no regenerative braking, so there's no rolling resistance. The car will roll and roll. And understanding the difference between that. Sometimes when you're using regen, people will use a lot more energy to get to the junction and then relying on the regenerative braking to stop them. And regen will take in at about 50% of the energy that you utilize to get there. Whereas if you use coasting, you're not using as much acceleration to get up to the junction or the point that you need to get to. You're spotting in the difference, you know where you're going, and you know that you can coast along without using any energy at all. So regen versus coasting, it's something that you're going to have to work out yourself. But having hard regen all the time isn't a solution, and you're going to have to know that for yourself regarding your driving style and how you like to drive. Number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 8, I should have numbered these, is understanding that heating and cooling the internal side of your car is going to take some energy from your high voltage battery. Headlights don't, wipers don't, so don't worry about those. So if it's, you just need to understand that by either heating or cooling your car, you're going to, so what could you do instead of that? So when you're heating, instead of turning on the air conditioning or turning on the fan, because there's no engine there that's generating heat already, that's been diverted into the cabin, an electric vehicle will require some resistive piece of technology to create that heat, so that will then heat the cabin. So if you heated seats are a great option, an alternative to this, or heated steering wheel if it's just the driver in the car. So rather than having the heating on, heating up the whole cabin, be that car, be that van. I've had a couple of vans where it isn't a bulkhead and you're heating the whole back behind you. You need to understand heating, and vice versa for cooling. I recently did the coast to coast challenge. A lot of people were asking about it, and it was 16, 17 degrees. And anytime it got hot enough in the cabin that I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, I just opened the window. Now, on that, it is probably better just to turn on the fan without the air conditioning and have it on cool, so that you're not using the air conditioning, but because the drag efficiency of the car is reduced by opening the window. So we're going to get very technical about it. But heating and cooling, just to understand that that's going to be one of the bigger factors that's going to affect how the range on your EV is going to be. Number 9, cruise control and using the limiter. Again, in that previous coast to coast challenge, I used a limiter so that I wouldn't go over 100 kilometers an hour. And I had one comment saying, well, that's a bit naff, isn't it? When you can drive at 120 kilometers in the motorway, why are you only going at 100 kilometers? My point back to that person was, it's a limit, it's not a target. Number 1. Number 2, absolutely, you can drive at 120 kilometers if you want, but it is going to eat into your battery much more than going at 100 kilometers an hour. And so limiting it, number 1, so no matter what you're doing, how far you're pressing the pedal down, until you hit that pressure point. Some cars have that pressure point, like a 2-stage step on an accelerator, when you need to overtake something or something happens. But having a limiter on it, just you're not consciously thinking about what speed you're going at. And then as similar to that then is obviously the cruise control option, where you can set it at 100 kilometers an hour. And some of the cars even have adaptive cruise control, so it knows the car in front is slowing down, so it will slow down too. But rather than reliant on you constantly feathering that accelerator pedal and trying to keep the system itself, is much more efficient than you trying to do it yourself. So using cruise control or using the limiter to hit the speed that you are, but understand that more speed equals more energy usage. Number 10, do you know the charging curve on your car? So with different models of electric vehicles, there is a charging curve. So even though the vehicle may have a claimed charging, it can take up to a certain kilowatt it can take it in. So for example, the Peugeot E208 has a maximum input on DC charging of between 99 and 100 kilowatts. So if you can find a fast or rapid charger, high powered, it will take it, but it won't take it for the full extent of the battery. It has what's called a charging curve. So at the start and at the end, it's going to ramp up and going to ramp down. Sometimes they're curves, sometimes they're steps. So understanding that will lead into tip number 11. But so if you've got an EV and you don't know what your charging curve is, because sometimes getting between 20% and 80%, the last 20% may take as long as getting that previous 60%, if that makes sense. So understand your charging curve will be tip number 10. Tip number 11 is usually the best range to charge your car within is between 20 and 80%, because that first 20 and last 20, the battery is not taking in as much electricity because it's just ramping down, and there's battery management system in place. So what we call it is splash and dash. So if you're driving along and you're passing a charging station and you're at 90%, you go, oh, I might top up in there. You're as well to go to the next charging station where you are below 80% because the battery is going to take it in faster. There was a recent cannonball run, I believe, in the United States where they did electric version of it, an EV version, and they worked out where they would be. Now, they got a lot of assistance by this, don't get me wrong, from Electrify America, which is a charging network in America, that where they'd be between the 80 and 20% of that sweet spot. And a lot of electric vehicles and mapping software are going to start utilizing this understanding that it's better for me to charge between that 20 and 80% and go to the next charger and charge, because the car or vehicle is able to take in more charge. So doing that 20-80% splash and dash and heading off again as quick as you can, because if you're hanging around there at 85-90%, and again, this goes back to point number 10, knowing your charging curve, because something like the Audi e-tron 55 Quattro has a capacity of taking in a lot of electricity, even up towards 100%. So that's a rule of thumb, but some electric vehicles are very good at taking in electricity, even at the higher percentages. So that 80-20 splash and dash is tip number 11. And tip number 12 is one of the easier ways of doing it is just sticking your car. It's going to default comfort mode, usually is what it's called. There is a sport mode where it gets more torqueier and it'll use a lot more electricity or energy to get you to a speed faster. But there are all electric vehicles will have what's called an eco mode. Some electric vehicles have eco plus mode. Now that will automatically potentially hinder your throttle control, your acceleration, your heating of the internal in the cabin. So I know in some electric vehicles, if you go to eco plus mode, it turns off all the aircon and heating capabilities just because it knows you want to get the maximum out of your electric vehicle. So switching it into eco mode is a easier way of, rather than thinking about all the previous 11 tips. But hopefully you've enjoyed this 12 tips to maximize your range on your electric vehicle. Let me know if I've left something out in the comment section below. My name has been Derek Riley. This has been EV Review Ireland. And remember, if you think an EV is for you, leave it to me and I'll review. If you'd like to support this channel, there'll be a link in the description with regards to my Patreon and also my PayPal. And I really appreciate everybody and all the support they're giving us. So that's been day 18 of the 30-day challenge. Thanks very much.